Hello, I'm Alex Kim. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm with the YWCA Missoula. Thank you for joining us for the 2021 Stand Against Racism, a community resources video. Stand Against Racism is a campaign of the YWCAs across the country to raise awareness about the negative impacts of institutional racism and to build community among those who work in racial justice. We typically hold an in-person event for Stand Against Racism, but this year we are doing something different. As we all have learned, this past year has been difficult and different, requiring all of us to make sacrifices and, more importantly, see how interconnected we are to one another. This year, we are presenting a video with several community groups, including the Snowbird Fund, All Nations Health Center, BIPOC Mutual Aid Fund, Missoula Food Share Project, and Here Montana, who will share about the work they are doing and how you can support their efforts. Racism plays a large role in determining the conditions in which people are born, grow, work, live, and age. These factors affect people's access to quality housing, education, food, transportation, political power, happiness, health, and other social determinants of health. The presenters that you'll hear from in this video all work in various ways to address public and social health for Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the community. I'm honored to present this video panel. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn more.
All Nations is committed to providing sustainable, healthy lives for our Native people and the surrounding community through culturally based holistic care. And there's like 5,000 Natives that live in Missoula, and of course All Nation has been around for 40 plus years, and it's really important that we connect our urban Indians to a safe place, to culturally relevant care, whether it's medical, clinical, or prevention, which is the area that we work in.
Okay, hi, my name is Dr. Ann Douglas. I am the Director of Behavioral Health and Director of Native Connections at All Nations Health Center. I'm Blackfeet, and we do a lot of prevention work with Native youth. We provide services such as outdoor recreation and cultural activities. We've done a rock scavenger hunt in the past, choke cherry activities, ice skating. Currently we're doing soup and stories. We offer an array of culturally appropriate activities for our Native youth and their families to get involved with.
Hello, my name is Dana Kingfisher, and I'm Blackfeet in Grovant. And I work at All Nations Health Center, and I am the community specialist for the Native Connections Suicide Prevention Program and the Tobacco Program. The Native Connections Program has a new facility. This fall we'll be unveiling a drop-in after-school program for middle and high schools as well as young adults. And we just want to provide a safe place for our Native population, as well as resources that they might not have at home.
I'm Faith Price, and I'm from the Assonet Band of Wampanoag, as well as being African American and European American too, mixed. I'm the Community Prevention Coordinator for All Nations Health Center, and I am actually stationed part-time here at our Native Connections office and then part-time at the University of Montana doing outreach to the university's Native students there. I'm just there as a resource to the Native students on campus, making sure that they're connecting with the services provided by All Nations, as well as we offer some programming in collaboration with American Indian Student Services, and that's where my office is. This year in 2021, we have lots of fun activities planned for the rest of the year, for summer and fall. This June we'll be hosting our second annual Native Youth Resilience Summit, and we're going to be having some speakers on social justice, some young people speaking that are doing social justice work here in Montana, and as well as talking about media and how we can use media for social change as well. Also this summer we'll be doing a food sovereignty project with our health promotions folks at All Nations. We'll be doing some garden beds, and we'll also be doing some native plants nature walks. So those are planned for the summer. And this coming fall, I'm really excited about offering Project Venture to Missoula area youth. And Project Venture is an outdoor rec program that's designed for Native youth with using Native cultural values, but getting kids outside doing healthy activities in order to improve their wellness, both physical and mental wellness. So very excited to be bringing that this fall to Missoula. The community can support the work we do by referring Native youth and families to our services and the programming that we offer. So just raising awareness and making sure people know about what we have to offer for Native families and young people in particular. To find out more information, you can check out our website, which is allnations.health, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram. We're on both of those for social media. So thanks.
Thank you for the opportunity to join you today and tell you a little bit about this exciting new fund that we have. I'm Mary Rutherford, President and CEO of the Montana Community Foundation. Our organization has been serving Montana philanthropists and Montana communities for over 30 years. We like to say that we are the agent of the philanthropist in service to Montana. And the Snowbird Fund is a great example of how we help Montanans fulfill their dreams through philanthropy. Today, we're joined by Ivan McDonald, who is a member of the Snowbird Fund Committee and a filmmaker here in Montana, and a member of the Racial Equity Project, huge advocate for racial equity in Montana, and also Whitney Williams, who created this exciting new fund. So Whitney, do you want to kick us off and talk a little bit about this fund?
Sure, Mary, thanks so much. And thanks for the opportunity to visit about this. I think the Snowbird Fund is about 5 weeks old. We were just visiting earlier today. We're so sort of humbled and kind of honored that people have been so interested in what we're doing. And so delighted to share a little bit more. I am a Montanan. I live here in Missoula. I was a student at the University of Montana studying Native American studies, and remember back many years ago, went to take the Blackfeet language program in collaboration with the Blackfeet Community College, and really had such a deep interest in sort of tribal communities and cultures. And so throughout my life, I've been really interested in sort of many of the issues that are sort of present, particularly in Indian country. But something struck me about a year ago. I was running for governor, and it was during COVID. And so I was on these Zooms, as we all have been for the last year, visiting with folks. And I came across a gal named Grace Bulltail, who lost her niece a couple of years ago. And then just after that, Cheryl Horn, who also lost her niece, and I am an auntie. And I started thinking about how tragic it would be to lose a family member. And as I started talking to them about their particular issues as it related to helping look for and ultimately try to find their nieces, I just discovered there were these inconsistencies for them, and inconsistencies, frankly, because they are tribal members. And here we are today talking about racism. If my niece went missing in Missoula, there'd be a very different situation than these gals faced. And what we discovered, as we then spent some time over the summer and this fall, really trying to better understand the kind of central issues around murdered missing Indigenous women and murdered and missing Indigenous people, is that tribal members are confronted with this sort of challenge of having to search for family members on their own, at their own expense. And so when we talked to Cheryl, for example, she was saying, it would have been so helpful if we had had access to a drone. We would have been able to cover so much more ground. Or other family members who've said to us, we had nephews willing to come, but we just needed some gas money, to get them here. Or, everyone wanting to help feed search committees as they were bringing together neighbors to search for their loved ones. And so we decided that, Snowbird might actually do some good here. We might be able to provide some grants. And Ivan will speak more to this, but provide direct donations to family members who are searching for their loved ones. And just as Anna Whiting-Sorrell, another member of the committee, said, maybe family members just won't go hungry when they're on a search. And I thought that was so well said and quite beautiful in terms of the sentiment of what we're trying to achieve here. And so with just 5 weeks in, we've, Mary, thanks to you and Ivan and Marilyn Zimmerman and Anna Whiting Sorrell, we've actually almost doubled in size in terms of the size of the fund, which just means that we're going to be able to help that many more families across the state. And with that, I'd love to just invite Ivan to join and to say a few more words about the fund.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, my name is Ivan MacDonald. I'm a member of the Blackfeet tribe. The work around MMIW and MMIP I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. It kind of started out as a project between my sister and I of sharing the stories of the women and girls who have gone missing or have been murdered in the state. Indigenous girls, we are survivor family, and Whitney was one of the first supporters of our work. And I still remember the first meeting we had where we discussed, it's like a fund for families would be so incredible, just because, so much of what the work we do is the work my sister and I were doing up until partnering with the Snowbird Fund was just trying to allocate resources. Some of the resources that people have used have been for housing, facing housing instability. And, this fund is really kind of one of a kind in the aspect that it's directly related to funding families directly. And a lot of the times when these searches happen, it's the families leading the searches. I've been on quite a few searches with different family members searching for missing loved ones. And those people are boots on the ground, doing the searches on their own. So this fund is kind of incredible in that aspect that it provides that direct resource and direct funding to these people. And I'm just super honored to be involved. And moving forward, I think that this program, I can just see it growing more and more and being so much of an influence as we work to address this crisis.
Thanks, Ivan. And one of the goals, this is, I will say, entirely Indigenous led. Ivan and Anna and Marilyn are making the decisions about the resource and how and when to get it out the door. We have committed to our neighbors in Indian country to make the resource available very quickly. As Mary has said so wisely, this is sort of trust-based giving. This is, we believe our neighbors, and once Ivan, Anna, and Marilyn make their decision, the dollars, thanks to the Montana Community Foundation sort of professional staff and efficiency and commitment to this, the resource goes out the door very quickly. And so for us, I think the goal ultimately is to help every single Montana family who needs it. We hope that we'll have resource to be able to continue to do that. And because of the generosity of so many of our neighbors here in Montana who joined us from, $5 to $5,000, we feel really good about the fact that we're going to be able to continue to help people. And I will also just say that 100% of the dollars that come into Snowbird go right back out to Indigenous families. Any of the little bit of overhead that needs to be covered is being covered separately. So that's something that we're very proud of as well. I'm very grateful to the Community Foundation for helping us make that possible.
Thanks, Whitney, and thanks, Ivan. It's our honor to do this. This is the first fund that we've ever administered like this. And as far as we can tell, there's no fund like this anywhere in the United States. And so we're breaking new ground. I'm sure we're not going to do things perfectly, but we're going to do our best to do them as well as we possibly can. And we really trust this committee. They're doing a great job. And our commitment is to get these dollars out the door, as Whitney said, as quickly as we possibly can. There's never going to be enough money. And so we would appreciate anyone who feels at all compelled to please join us in this really amazing opportunity to help our neighbors. And you can do that by just going to snowbirdfund.org. That'll direct you right to the website. It'll tell you about the fund in terms of contributing, but also in terms of asking for a grant. So please help us spread the word, because as much as we'd like to see new dollars come into the fund, we really want to get the message out, and we hope that you can help us do that. So thank you again for the opportunity. We're very grateful to be with you today, and I hope you learned a little bit more about the Snowbird Fund. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Aubrey Ponglele. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an organizer with the Montana BIPOC Mutual Aid Fund and with the Missoula Food Share Project. These are sister mutual aid programs based here in Missoula, Montana. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Montana BIPOC Mutual Aid Fund first, and then go into its connection to the Missoula Share Project before giving a little rundown on what the Missoula Food Share Project is and some of the programs that we're working on with that project. So the Montana BIPOC Mutual Aid Fund is a program that was created by BIPOC for BIPOC in the summer of 2020. However, it's powered by greater community engagement and support. The fund depends on and benefits from members of our community, and all the money that we receive is redistributed to fellow community members. We are not a nonprofit, which was an intentional decision, recognizing that nonprofit models still run under a capitalistic system, and we are working to get creative and innovative about alternatives to that kind of system. This means that we do not get funding from foundations or government agencies, and this allows us to redistribute funds in a way that recognizes and supports people's agency while practicing our core value of trust. The mutual aid model basically boils down to an exchange of resources and services for mutual benefit. It's really when people come together to meet each other's basic needs with a shared understanding that the systems that we live under are not going to do that for us, and we can do it ourselves together. The way that the mutual aid fund works is it's basically a form of financial solidarity with those struggling in our communities through direct aid. And the way that our program functions is we have an application form that goes out on the 1st of every month and closes on the 15th of every month. And then we have 2 distribution rounds. The first happens at the end of the 3rd week of the month, and then the second happens at the end of the 4th week of the month. So far, we have received pretty consistent donations, which has really been kind of the main success. It's just that this has been a continuous thing that we have been able to do. And the last kind of check-in that we did on those numbers, we raised and redistributed over $100,000 to BIPOC families in Montana, which is pretty amazing for a nonprofit, and also just a real testament of the community care and support that exists here. So that's been really beautiful to see. We have had some challenges. Probably the most outstanding is that we usually get more needs than we can fund, and our asks outweigh what we have. So we have had to prioritize folks who are facing housing insecurity, who are about to get evicted or have past rent due, and also folks who have outstanding medical bills and need assistance with that. And what that means is that we often cannot fund folks who have asks regarding financial support for things like grocery and food money, or hygiene products or childcare products. Car repairs are a common ask of support. And so that has been challenging, just to go every month knowing that we cannot help everyone who needs help. In response to that barrier, myself and one other began brainstorming how we could expand the mutual aid system in our community to move beyond just monetary funding and and that kind of led to the evolution and development and now kind of realization of the Missoula Food Share Project, which is also a mutual aid project. So I'll get into that now. The Missoula Food Share Project is a mutual aid program that works to expand the mutual aid system beyond monetary exchange, and we specifically seek to provide more equitable access to food resources, particularly in response to the food insecurity crisis exacerbated by COVID. We recognize that Missoula's food system remains a predominantly white space. So we work not only to distribute local produce to Missoula's BIPOC community, but also to uplift BIPOC food sovereignty movements. And we're doing this in a few different ways. Our focus at this time is to create a bridge between local farm networks and people to whom these networks are currently inaccessible, specifically low-income community members facing housing insecurity or houselessness, and the BIPOC community as a whole. So we have developed two primary programs in order to address this food insecurity. The first is the Missoula Community Free Fridge Program, and the second is the free BIPOC CSA Share Program. Both are in the works, and we will be announcing our first free fridge site in the next few days here, which is really exciting. And our hope for this is that we can develop a widely distributed free fridge network that helps to make food resources more accessible to folks who are facing barriers such as transportation, technology, time, who are looking for more of a variety in the food resources that they can access, and also to provide good quality local produce to folks across the city. So that project is well underway. You can find more information on our Instagram page, and I'll share that in a moment. The other program, the Free BIPOC CSA Share Program, is will be announced fairly shortly. We are working on an application for that, and we have partnered with the Western Montana Growers Co-op and have secured 15 CSA shares for the season. The way that's going to work is we'll put out this application form for BIPOC community members, and folks who sign up for that program will get a CSA share box delivered to their doorstep weekly through the season. If that goes well, we would like to extend into the fall season. And depending on that, how that goes, we would really love to increase the number of CSA shares that we can offer next year. So those are some of the most immediate efforts that we have going on. We have some other food sovereignty and food agency projects in brainstorming phase right now, just kind of recognizing that food insecurity is a surface problem, and the roots of that are much more complex and are a result of systemic racism and violence and discrimination and oppression. So that, requires a little bit more digging into and really intentional thinking. So we're working on that as well. Let's see, maybe to share a little bit on the most kind of immediate project, which is the free fridge program. The model for that is that we will have these free fridges and pantries as sites where community members can help other community members by providing access to non-perishable food and fresh produce and personal hygiene items, bottled water, unexpired foods, et cetera, et cetera. So still following that mutual aid model where the community is sharing their resources, and these resources are being redistributed to those who are unable to meet those basic needs. And really the underlying understanding for this project is that food is a right and not a privilege. Quality food is a right and not a privilege. Heritage foods are a right and not a privilege. And we are trying to bring that into practice. So every member of the community, regardless of need, can access and contribute to these fridges. And our fridges and pantries are maintained, managed, and stocked by volunteers, local food farmers and food workers, small businesses, and your neighbors and fellow community members. So once we get that going, please check us out and see where the nearest fridge is to you, and consider sharing some food. If you want to check out some of this work, both projects are primarily accessible through Instagram. The Montana BIPOC Mutual Aid Fund Instagram is mt.bipoc.mutual.aid. And if you would like to make a monetary donation to that fund, the Venmo account is mtbipocAid. The Missoula Food Shares Project Instagram is missoula.community.free.fridge. And if you would like to make a monetary contribution to that project, our Venmo is Missoula Food Share. We also have a link tree for the Missoula Food Share project, and that has some information on how you can volunteer if you would like to volunteer for us, donation items that we might be looking for, amongst other things. We have a few volunteer teams developing right now, and those include a build team. We're also looking to grow a cleaning and maintenance team to help manage the sites. And then, we list some of the donation items that we'll need right now. Those will be food and building supplies for constructing the structures to house these fridges to help keep them looking nice and weatherproof. So feel free to go check us out and contribute if you can. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more fridge news.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so grateful to be a part of this. My name is Alex Kim. My pronouns are he, him, and I am the founder and facilitator of Here Montana. Here Montana is an outdoor recreation group focused on getting our BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color community outside. I came to Missoula Parks and Recreation over a year ago with a plan for this program, and since then we have become a resource for the BIPOC community, a source of healing, community, representation, and joy during these difficult times. Now, how does Here Montana fit into the public health conversation, and what is its role in racial justice? In Montana, the outdoors are a source of public health, a space where people can breathe fresh air, exercise, sweat, and see beautiful spaces filled with rivers, mountains, and forests, taking care of our minds, bodies, and spirits. It has been a difficult year for people of color, and the outdoors is somewhere where we can find ourselves to heal and to grow. In these spaces are activities such as rafting, skiing, fishing, hiking, backpacking, climbing, the list goes on. These activities have long excluded the BIPOC community for many years. And let me explain that part. Who is excluding the BIPOC community? It's not one individual. I'm not pointing my finger at one person. And in this conversation, I'm referring to the exclusion of BIPOC people to the outdoor industry, the industry that lives within the systems that we are all participating in. What do I mean by that? Well, there are so many layers to this that I can focus only on one today, and that's going to be representation. I grew up not seeing anyone like me doing the things that I am doing now. So when looking into the outdoor recreation opportunities, I didn't have anyone that looked like me to ask the questions of, where do I do this? Or get that? Or even to feel inspired by. Then I would search on the internet for gear and clothing, in magazines, websites, advertisements, again, not seeing anyone that looked like me. The culture of the outdoors was not something visually that I could identify with. Why does that matter? Well, for me, I am more comfortable around people that look like me by virtue of my identity as an Asian American. Representation is not giving you, me, or anyone else permission to do something. Rather, it's encouraging and supporting us to do something. And we all want that when we are going into something new. I'm sure that we can all relate when it's that superhero that we saw that we wanted to be when we were a child, a role model, and someone that you aspired to be. So in recognizing this barrier here in Montana was created so that we people of color can get outside, experiencing, feeling, healing, and being represented. And most importantly, being able to experience joy in the outdoors together in community. So this summer we have backpacking, hiking, and walks with Native leaders learning about our native plants and medicine, rafting, mountain biking, and so much more. So for more information, please check out our Instagram page at here_Montana. Thank you.